For the past couple years, I've made a video on Father's Day, and it's just sort of this semi serious talking about how important fathers are. And this year, I had a plan to make this sort of fun dad joke project. It was kind of dumb, but I thought it was going to be funny. And that's what I was going to do for Father's Day. And then, like a month ago, there were a couple utter pieces of garbage that shot a bunch of people in Buffalo and in Uvalde. Whenever some big tragedy comes up, some piece of trash goes on a murderous rampage and kills a bunch of people, it's pretty predictable the things that will come up. It will be about guns, it will be about politics, it will be about mental health. Everybody points fingers at everything else. Afterwards, we typically hear the same things. I guess there were signs, I guess there were indicators. Nobody caught it, but yeah, there were definitely signs that this person was troubled. There were things going on. Rarely do people talk about these individuals' families. In almost every one of these cases of these the people doing these horrific things, there are issues at home. And often there are parents that are not at home. They don't live with their parents. They have a father who's not there. Something's going on at home. And I don't want to sound like I'm going to blame the parents for what happened. I'm not. These pieces of trash are responsible for their actions. But I think that we as parents and people who are planning to be parents or want to be parents or know people with kids should be looking at that. And we should be thinking really hard about those situations. Every single time this happens and people start talking about how, oh, there were indicators at home or somebody should have caught this, it should be their parents who should have caught it. That's who should have caught it. We can blame the school system or the mental health system or all of these things, but ultimately it comes down to parents. And quite often, parents aren't involved, or they let things slide, or they shift the responsibility to someone else to handle the problems. When parents aren't involved, or even worse, when parents are absent, especially when fathers are absent or not involved, that leads to a lot of problems. There is tons of research on the effect that having a father that is absent from the home, not involved, has on kids. A couple of years ago, one of the first videos I made that was recorded on a potato with a microphone that was used during an underwater basket weaving class. I went over statistics about the lack of father's involvement and what that means for kids. But I'm going to go over some of those again because those are important. And I don't think we realize how serious those things are. Kids who have a father who is involved in their life or at home will be more successful in school. They're more likely to graduate. They're less likely to end up in jail or prison. They're less likely to end up with any alcohol or drug addiction issues. They're less likely to be pregnant as a teen. They're less likely to be suspended from school, expelled from school, or to drop out of school. Children without fathers are more likely to die as infants or very young children, more likely to have behavioral problems or mental health problems, more likely to abuse drugs and alcohol, more likely to be arrested, more likely to end up in prison or jail. And these aren't just things that people say. These are statistics. There are numbers to back these up. I'll leave them links in the description. These are serious things. And when we see things like what's happened over the last couple of months or last month with these two shootings, it just shows how these things work. With this guy in Buffalo, he wrote a huge manifesto explaining why he did this. Nobody asked him what he was doing. Nobody was involved in that. Nobody was checking what he was doing online. Like, who was paying the internet bill? Nobody checked. This other kid in Texas lived with his grandma at the time. He'd been having issues with his mom. His dad is somewhere else. Nobody knew what the guy was doing. He just was a weird kid. The 5 people who watch this sort of video, if I make them once a year, will say, oh, well, it's because of incarceration rates or poverty rates. And maybe I'm looking at this from a position where I don't understand, but I have worked with a lot of people in a lot of bad situations, and there are people in really bad situations who are still very involved parents. So for those of us who are sitting here watching YouTube videos, what are we going to do about it? Or can we do about it? Maybe I'm horribly naive about how I can interact with my kids as they grow up, but I'll do the best that I can. And for those folks who maybe you don't have kids, check with the people you know, with the people you care about, and make sure that weird kid that everybody's like, yeah, he's strange, just ask him what he's doing online. That's all I've got today. That's my angry Father's Day rant. If you're still watching, and if you see this video and you didn't instantly unsubscribe from this channel, thanks. See you next time.